Pledge of Allegiance. The pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, Clerk Pittman, could you please call the roll?
Here. Councilman Palmer.
Here.
Councilwoman Burrow. Absent. Councilwoman Robinette. Here. Councilwoman Lipka is absent.
Excuse.
Councilwoman Nelson. Mayor Jones.
Here. A quorum is present. At this time, Clerk Pittman, do we have any public comments? We ask that you direct your public comments to the council, and you will have 3 minutes with a 40-second warning.
You have one that was submitted via email. You have a few on the Zoom call, and you also have some in person. I'll start with those in the room. And it was also submitted online. So the first is going to be Alan Miller.
Alan Miller, 435 Darst. Good evening.
Good evening.
The quarterly consent decree hearing before Judge Perry was held last Friday. Nancy Glass with the Department of Justice cited 5 goals that the Department of Justice expected the city of Ferguson to have completed by the end of the year. She singled out completion of the police training officer training as a high priority item that needed to have been completed by year's end. While giving excuses why the city failed to meet 4 of the 5 goals, Apollo Carey placed all of the blame regarding the PTO training on the Police Training Committee and on the Neighborhood Policing Steering Committee. Supposedly, we had never provided any responses to the police department submittals, and the city was waiting on us. This is absolutely false. The NPSC has never been informed about the PTO program. Mr. Carey cannot blame the NPSC for failing to review information we never knew existed. The training committee, which is tasked with reviewing the information, bears no fault for the police department's delays in completing the PTO training. The PTO training program was first introduced to the training committee in January. Even though she was presenting the information, Nicole Barton didn't understand the program good enough to explain it to us. The training committee reviewed the information provided to us anyway. Pastor Carl Weinigal and Bob and Ginny Richardson provided their comments within 2 weeks after the meeting. My wife and I waited until after our February meeting for needed clarifications and then emailed our suggested edits on February 8th. From March until June, we received background information concerning the PTO program while waiting for the city's next submittal. Rough drafts of the 15 course modules were uploaded to Google Drive for our June meeting. None of the modules were complete. Many were little more than basic outlines. We reviewed the information as requested, but were not able to give our responses because the city canceled meetings for the next 3 months. Finally, an extremely condensed version of the course materials was provided for our October meeting. The training committee was asked to provide our responses by 13 October, and we complied with that request. The October submittal, however, was still very incomplete. It was nowhere close to ready for use in teaching the classes before the end of the year. There have been no meetings since. The timeline I have presented directly refutes Mr. Carey's suggestion that no one on the committee provided responses. We were engaged at all times. Instead, blaming the training committee provided an interesting parallel with the NPSC statement at Friday's hearing. Both demonstrate the city's lack of respect for the work of community volunteers. The volunteers who are trying to help Ferguson achieve compliance with consent decree, people who are putting in extremely long hours each year on behalf of our city, continue to be ignored, dismissed, and even disparaged. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, LeVar Mitchum.
Laverne Mitchum, 508 Hunters Ridge Drive. Good evening, council. I would like to talk about what we say and what we do many times affect our city in a negative way. This goes for all of us, but specifically our elected officials and our leaders. A few weeks ago, our city manager, Mr. Osterberg, went to Sam Page office, and he was accompanied by Nick Cassaw. Mr. Cassaw videotaped the visit. The visit was to address the animal control problem here in Ferguson. We do have a serious animal control problem here in Ferguson. It needs to be solved. A couple of weeks ago, my neighbor was chased by 2 pit bulls, and thank God she was able to get to the cross guard, and they both hopped in his truck. The 2 pit bulls was at each window as if they were trying to get in the truck. When they finally realized they could not get in the truck, they went on. My neighbor said this was not only scary, it horrified her. On November 8th, when I was working the polls, I had about 10 people talk to me about the animal control problem. I had 3 young ladies said they no longer walk because of being afraid of the dogs. I no longer walk either, being afraid of the dogs. I had a couple who said that their kittens had been killed by some stray dogs. So we definitely do have an animal control problem. But my concern is when our city manager and Mr. Kassoff went to address it at Sam Page office, it looked more like a political hit rather than going for a meeting to resolve this animal control problem. Now, having been a council member, I believe there were several other ways other than going to Sam Page office and looking like they were doing a political hit. So I am asking that the council get with Mr. Osterberg and do whatever needs to be done, because we don't want someone attacked, hurt, or killed by these dogs. Not long ago, I was at this podium and I made a statement that I didn't think our city manager needed to be micromanaged. I still don't think he needs to be micromanaged. But what I do also believe is the fact that our city manager should operate within the description and position of his job. I don't want him looking like he's being political. And that's what it looked like when it went to Sam Page office. That was very disturbing. That was negative on our community, negative reflection.
Seconds.
Okay, last thing. Many of us are very serious about our community moving forward. We're very serious about it. We would like for you, our leaders, our elected officials, to help us move our city forward.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchum.
Carla Bergeron.
Good evening, Carla Bergeron, 1029 Edge Hill. Happy holidays. And this is nothing serious, but I wanted to ask if somebody could provide an update tonight about the tree and the lights on the Victorian poles, the decorative lights, and what's going on. Why nothing's lit up on the west side of Florissant Road. And then if there's a way to get this information, I don't know where that's at. I don't know if stuff like this is posted on the city website. But as a citizen, I really kind of need to find a way to keep updated about this kind of stuff. I think it's silly me taking time at this podium asking this question. So if there's a way to find this other than a Facebook, if there's a city Facebook I don't know of, let me know. But I would think I could go to the website for stuff like this. So that's all I'm saying. If we could get some better communication. Thank you.
Thank you.
Adrian Shropshire.
Good evening, council. Good evening, citizens. First of all, I want to thank the citizens that attended our meeting this evening. We put out some flyers to inform them from of our sales apartments. And I invited them to come to our city council meeting this evening. And I appreciate it. Don't let this be the last one you come to. We really need you here all the time. I don't know where to start. I guess I could be a little frustrated. Texts and emails. There's an old saying, say it, forget it, print it, regret it. What I read, I feel at one point, it was not ethical and it lacked integrity. People will change. This will affect people. The emails will affect people because I just hope you didn't say anything negative about anybody in the city. There's a lot of emails. And that would really make our city and administration look bad if there was negative comments about citizens, other council members, and or who it might be. I just hope it was a clean text and email that was printed or put in a docs on I Care Ferguson. That's terrible. City business stays in city business. I like transparency. I love transparency, but to put the city business, the emails from all our council, I'm not for that. And I don't think that should have happened. And I hope there's no repercussions behind it. Sorry, the way things went, Councilwoman Burrow. But when you have someone from the state with their name at the top of the list, people really don't have to think what happened or why did she do this or why did she do that. They just put their name on it because a rep's name is there. I think it was disrespectful, not even to give her a public hearing of her peers in her ward. This disrespect just didn't start with Ms. Burrow, Councilman Burrow. It's been going on all year, 2 years, 3 years, as long as the mayor's been in office. She's taken ridicule. She's taken disrespect. She's been called by her first name. That's unacceptable. Our city is at a standstill because of everybody's personal agendas, their personal hate.
40 seconds.
For example, no task force, no to the task force. We need that to help our 2040 comp plan. No to the Charter Commission. No to Admin 1. EPA rep. No to the ARPA funds. We still don't know what's going on with that money. Some kind of report. Should we have to qualify for money that is given to us from the government? I asked you, should we have to qualify as citizens? In the years that, in next year, I hope we can put an HR director, a community outreach director, a training coordinator, and a public works director. I hope we can fill our staff up so we can become a productive city. Without these positions filled, we're not going anywhere. Nowhere. Who would want to move here and we don't have these major positions? How can you hire qualified people and city managers trying to do it all itself?
Time up, Mr. Adrian.
Okay, Mayor, I'd like one more thing. Traffic monitor. I hope there was a permit pulled for that. And if you did get a permit to put the traffic monitor up, you have to take it to Ameren to have them okay it. And then they will give you the procedures on how to put the monitor on the pole. Happy New Year and Merry Christmas to all. Thank you.
Donald Stevens.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I'd like to talk about the redistricting proposal submitted by the redistricting commission. There was 2 petitions submitted not regarding the redistricting proposal submitted by the commission. There also was a proposal submitted to by the residents that was going to be affected. I would like for the council to take a look at it, like for the commission to reconsider the proposal that they have submitted. And I think they need to look at all 3 wards and see where we can make all 3 wards as close as possible, but without just picking one pocket in Ferguson to comply with the election board commission. But furthermore, the petition that was submitted, both of them, should not be ignored by the council or either by the commission. On another note, too, the ARPA fund. I want to know how many residents have benefited from the ARPA funds. Where are the ARPA funds? Where are they going? Where is the money going? Who is benefiting? We had these meetings about the ARPA funds, what everyone would like to see and how the money to be used. But nevertheless, I haven't seen anything. I haven't read anything. Maybe somewhere hid, I don't know. But I would like to know where's the ARPA fund, and also council, take a look at the redistricting proposal commission have submitted. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens.
Erica Brooks.
Good evening. It's gonna be pretty much piggybacking off of the last 2 people that came up here and is talking about the ARPA funds and understanding, how our input was impactful in any way, and it's like I asked a long time ago when I emailed in a letter talking about, did the city council members in Ward 2 have a perspective as to what was important for our ward? What was it? What issues are being put forth? Is it like other projects that were looked at before the funds showed up that's being funded? Did our comments even matter? Where is the money at? So when it comes down to having a status of knowing that our communities are going to be addressed, are they going to be addressed? And are they going to just address the city council members' opinion? Also, I want to know about some of the things that I had mentioned was about the lighting in our neighborhoods being transitioned over from regular lighting to LED lighting so that it can be cost efficient as well as brighter in our neighborhoods. We talked about the derelict homes that some of the city owned in our neighborhood, which is not being maintained. You have some houses on my street, weeds as high as the house, but I have seen some derelict houses being torn down in our area as well this year. So like I say, to be able to know that there is a list to show us, hey, these things are being done. Also, I wanted to know as well about the update for the redistricting, because I know from previous experience from this last August election, being a campaign manager for a state rep, I know that the not having access to the voters in your area played a major impact, because if you're out there campaigning for your candidate and don't have the particular boundaries that are correct, it's going to affect the person that's actually running, because you're going to be doing all this promoting and campaigning to the wrong voters. So to have Ferguson be this late in deciding on a redistricting, it doesn't make sense. We just a city. Now you had a whole district. You had states that redistrict, they're finished. Why is Ferguson still waiting to be redistricted? It doesn't make sense to me. It sounds like people are controlling access to where the voters are. So, and then also when it comes down to South Dade, I know that it's on the plan to be resurfaced, and it was a process in there where we should have had a public hearing to give our opinion about what we thought, and we never had it. Because I know when I was campaigning with a petition that I sent in for that street, I was asking at the time with a state manager here, Eric Osterberg, when we're gonna have our public hearing, we never had it. So I know that it's on the, on the docket to be able to be done in 2023, but why didn't we have a public hearing to give our opinion about what's going on with that street? And then also I want to know with the ARPA funds, were you all gonna actually cut down old trees? We have a lot of old trees in our neighborhood. Wintertime is coming up and it's gonna be some lines that's gonna break. We don't want to have our electricity out because the trees not being cut down, the dead trees. It's like a lot of trees by the lines. So what are you all gonna do? Are y'all working with Ameren to cut down these trees by the lines or what? We don't want to have to experience a huge, outage and not use the funds what they, for.
40 seconds.
So all I'm asking is that you all, like I say, like they were saying, please let us see an itemized list of where our funds are going at in our wards. Also, the redistricting process is important and it should have been done so that we can know as voters, know where the votes are at, along with the candidates, so that we can be able to elect the person that we want in office to do what we need done. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Nick Cassoff.
Good evening. At the beginning of November, I attended a CRB meeting. And I was really disappointed that they waited for about 45 minutes and they had to cancel the meeting because they were unable to get a quorum. One member had technical difficulties, one member was on vacation, but there were also 2 seats that were vacant, both of them in the first ward. Now, since that time, they've amended their bylaws so that the quorum is defined as a majority of those appointed instead of a majority of the total number of seats. But that dodges the issue that when we don't appoint people to these seats, then certain parts of the city go unrepresented on that board. And the CRB is one of the most important boards in the city. Let's be serious about that. So after that meeting, I took the initiative. I put a post out on Facebook and I made some contacts personally as well. And the 2 seats in Ward 1 have applicants. One of them is Deborah Grady, who put in her application on November the 21st. I don't know her, I've never met her, but she meets the qualifications and lives in Ward 1. The other applicant is Laura Owens, who I think everybody in this room knows, and she put in her application on December the 5th. So I was very disappointed to see that there isn't an agenda item tonight to appoint these 2 Ward 1 members to the CRB so that that ward can have its representation and the CRB can have an easier time making quorum going forward. I hope that somebody on the council will take the initiative to amend the agenda this evening and put these 2 residents on the board. A couple of other quick comments regarding the dog thing. Believe you me, that many efforts have been made both by the city and by private citizens to try to get the county to step up on this dangerous situation. And I was glad that Ms. Mitchum brought up some of the hazards her neighbors had faced. We've had the same kind of thing going on as well. And we can't have a community that's in constant danger because of these dogs. We've got to get that service from the county. And if we don't, we're going to have to do like Hazelwood and Berkeley do and spend our own money to provide a service the county's supposed to be providing. Berkeley and Hazelwood both do that right now. So, when we had a problem with Chambers, Mr. Osterberg put those barriers out on Chambers. And it was a big kerfuffle and the county came running out and got all mad. But guess what? Overnight, they went from there's no problem in Ferguson with traffic, deal with it yourself, to we're going to spend a big pile of county money and completely restructure Chambers. So
40
sometimes
seconds.
you've got to do what you've got to do. And I think that was a good move. I hope the county steps up to the plate now. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move to the callers. Cassandra Butler.
Good afternoon, good evening. So first of all, I'm excited that there's going to be a new Human Rights Advocate of the Year. So I'd like to congratulate whoever that person is going to be. Congratulations. Secondly, when I was looking for the agenda for the Zoom tonight, I was struck by the number of minutes, even the minutes to the council that aren't posted yet. So I would, just a general, where are those? Why is it so delayed getting the minutes on the website? Just a general question. The third thing is I do want to make a comment about the redistricting based on other comments. I think it would be nice to have both proposals presented to the council and the residents. So I don't know if I missed that, if that's already happened. But if not, I think it would be nice and appropriate if those presentations could be made. Fourthly, about the emails that were made available through the Freedom of Information Act. I haven't read them, so I will, but I don't know. I wonder why they were made available to the public on a Facebook post, particularly a particular Facebook page where I think that particular page is not really a neutral site, because I really just don't want to be exposed to the political posturing that takes place on that Facebook page to get to those emails that are being made available to the public. So I hope that there's that they could be made available elsewhere. And most importantly, I'm concerned. I have not read the emails, but I'm concerned about the impact I think the release of those emails may have on the communication between those people involved and the city manager. So I don't want, I think the natural tendency is for people to stop using those texts, et cetera, and to start trying to have one-on-one conversations in the city manager's office so they won't have a written record. So I think that could really be a time, take up a lot of time of the city manager. So
40 seconds, Ms. Cassandra.
Thank you. So I think that the council really needs to think about that and make some policies where communication doesn't or particularly improper communication doesn't transfer from a text base to tying up the city manager's office. In particular, I think transparency is a good strategy, and perhaps you could do something like, even if you meet with the city manager behind closed doors, maybe that needs to be taped too and made available to the public, because obviously city business should be done in public, like at a city council meeting, and personnel issues should not be done by text. They should be done in closed meetings with the council as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jerry Noel.
Thank you, Octavia. Mayor Jones and council, good evening. I'm Jerry Noel, 1237 Deer Ridge Drive. And much of what I'm going to say was already said by Nick. But as chair of the Civilian Review Board, I need to say those things also. First, thank you for appointing 2 new members in August, which brought us from 5 up to 7 instead of the full complement of 9. But even with 7, we still experience times when we can't have a full quorum. Since July 1st, we've canceled 4 meetings where those of us that were able to got together and we had to end up canceling the meeting. Nick alluded to one. It was the meeting beginning of November. And we tried to wait for people and waited, and eventually after 45 minutes, we just had a chance. Nick was correct. What we did was we modified our bylaws, which stated that a quorum was 5 members, which is greater than 50% of our 9-member board. And that's what we were struggling having a quorum with. So we modified our bylaws to say greater than 50% of the sitting members. So right now we have 7 sitting members. So for our purposes, a quorum is now 4, not 5. So we can meet and have a meeting with 4 members. And if we have the full 9, that change to the bylaw doesn't have any effect. The quorum's going to be 5. With 8, the quorum is still 5. But when we drop down to 7, like we are now, a quorum would be 4, and that would permit us to, some of these meetings that we had to cancel, we could proceed with. The other thing I wanted to mention, and Nick alluded to it also, was that the 2 openings we have are both in Ward 1. So if you look at the Civilian Review Board as a board that's supposed to be representative of the city, we have 2 members from Ward 2. We have 2 members from Ward 3. We have no members appointed from Ward 1. So that inhibits our representation, our full representation. We do actually have a Ward 1 member who's on the board that was appointed as an at-large member. So it's not completely true that there's no Ward 1 people. But the 2 open seats are Ward 1 people. And again, I'm just reminding you all, we would love to have a full board, and we would love to have a quorum requirement of 5 because we have 9 members. So I'd encourage you all to, and as Nick said, and I appreciate Nick taking the initiative to put out the word and find some Ward 1 people that are willing to serve on the board. So it's up to the council to appoint those people. And so I'd encourage you to, if you haven't looked at the applications yet, to look at them. You know, if you don't see any reason not to appoint them, appoint them. Thank you. Oh, and happy holidays. And
Thank you.
hope the next year is better than any of the previous year. Thank you.
I don't have anyone else.
That's the end of public hearing. Next item on the agenda is the manager's report.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, members of our community. Up first tonight, we're going to have John Hampton, our fire chief, give the fire department update.
Mayor, it's a pleasure to be here tonight. Just want to give you a quick update on and what we've been doing the last couple of weeks. We've had about 5 in-town house fires. And naturally, we run a bunch of EMS calls and motor vehicle accidents, especially today with the wet weather coming in. With that, as it gets colder, just want to remind everyone that, you know, when we have these wet roads, that we potentially could have ice on the road. So let's slow it down even more if we can, especially at the intersections. The fire department, along with the parks and the police department, have been doing Santa and sirens. It's been a pretty big hit this year. Again, we have 2 more nights of that, and they'll be on the 17th. We'll be doing that starting at 5 o'clock, and we're going to hit the apartment complexes. On the 19th, we'll be starting at 5 or 6, depending upon the weather, on how cold it is, and the weather. It may have a little bit of snow or something in that. However, on the 16th, I want to remind everybody of the Winter Palooza that we're going to have at the community center, and that starts at 5. So the fire department will be up there as well with the parks department. The fire department also has done certification testing for the state. This is for individual like trying to get their officer 1 and 2 and their instructor level certifications. We also have 1 more testing this year on the 28th that we have a live fire, I believe, and instructor 2. So these are classes, like I've always told you, that we kind of work with the state and hosting them. And then that way we get more people in the class. So we do have a lot of certifications in the fire department currently. Right now, we're hiring 2 employees. Our applications are due this Friday's the last day, and then we'll start our hiring process probably in the beginning of the year. I know we'll test on the 28th. We've also been working with the parks and the police department and public works with putting a sump pump in the pool at JWP, so we don't have any more unfortunate incidents like we had a couple years ago. We're gonna keep that at a lower level, but I know we have to have some water in the pool. So we're gonna be right at that standard. With the fire department, we are finishing up our inspections that we have. With COVID, we've been a little behind, but now we're starting to catch up again. And we also have been doing a coat drive, but right now, there's not many coats out there to give the kids. So if you do have any coats that you do want to offer to kids, look at the city hall and or fire department or police, and we will make sure that they get them. That's all I have for the city. Mayor and council, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
I have a question, Chief Hampton. What are the COVID numbers looking like?
COVID numbers, they have been fluctuating up and down. Right now, we're on a little bit of a kick up, but as we all know, our numbers are not really accurate right now because of home testing. So whatever we're seeing, you know, in the papers or anything like that, we probably add, you know, a good, I would probably say another 10% at least to that. But we also have to also remember that the flu has been going around and that's been hitting pretty hard. Also RSV, and that's also not just hitting the infants and children, it's also hitting our elderly people currently as well.
Any other questions for the chief?
Thank you, Chief.
Have a good Christmas.
Up next, we'll have our police department update from Chief McCall.
What the police department has been doing until December month with funny weather. Basically, I want to touch base on a few things with you. Basically, we are dealing with a lot of different trends within our region, crime-related trends and different things like that. One thing that we have done in partnership with other entities, other law enforcement entities, we've had a lot of dialogue in reference to trying to use each other's resources, share resources as far as communication and identification as far as these individuals that are responsible for what we're dealing with right now. Trust me, they have no borders. They have no city limit lines. They are going throughout St. Louis County and also crossing the St. Charles County. But just so you know, we have addressed some things within the last couple of days. We have seen somewhat of a decrease within the last week or so. We really had a serious upswing. This is in our business, that sort. But as I stated, we've also utilized our own resources with our own response teams that we've had coming in and concentrating on those general areas. This is also inclusive of traffic enforcement as well. Representing reason for this month. The police department has attended numerous neighborhood meetings and city boards and commission meetings, typically as we've done every month. But in addition to that, we've participated in the mentoring of young ladies in our community. This is an endeavor that was started by the female officers of our department that have volunteered to go out, reach out, and talk to young ladies. We talk about a lot of mentoring, but you rarely hear a lot when it comes to the female portion of it. So we have embarked on that, and that will be continual. Also, the fire department and the police department have increased our relationship with Boys to Mentors, which is another organization that mentors young men. We participated in a couple of months ago in our Balling with the Cop, but they were involved in that also. So that relationship continues. In our daily operations, we're strengthening our relationships with partnerships with the community, stakeholders in the community. Basically, this is business checks, having dialogue, just talking to people, to be approachable and accessible, to let them know that we're in it with them and we're in this together. Once again, we're participating with Shop with a Cop. We've already done our shopping and our intent is, of course, before Christmas, to give the gifts that have been purchased to the families that were selected by the Ferguson School District. So that is actually going. Also, we've for the first year, we're going to be giving out random gift cards to people who we come in contact with. Basically, it's by way of our traffic enforcement. Any situation which would be a verbal warning, a minor infraction, will constitute that. And that's the officer's discretion to do that. Just like I said, we recognize that in these times, there's a lot going on, and every little bit helps all of us. I know I've heard discussion about recruitment. I'm happy to say that continually we've had weekly employment interviews for the last few months now. I'm happy about that. So you guys know we have 4 police candidates scheduled to begin County Municipal Police Academy January 2nd. It's no longer tentative. They are scheduled to attend and begin that police training. Thursday, December 17th, the cadet we do have in the academy now will be graduating. And it's our intent to have him sworn in on Friday, the 18th, here in City Hall. So we continue moving forward on that. Also, some other positions that came up at the status hearing, they have been posted. I'm happy to say we received numerous resumes and inquiries in reference to those. Some local, some out of state, and of course our internal applicants as well. So we're moving forward on those items also as we speak. Really want another side note, coincidentally, we've also had officers that have left the department that have made inquiries in reference to possibly or hoping to return to the department. So it's, as I say, when you talk about light at the end of the tunnel, it does exist and it is there. Do you have any questions?
What day did you say in January, the new officer will start?
January 2nd.
January 2nd. Okay, well, I heard January 18th. What is that? What's happening? Did I hear the 18th or did I mishear?
No, it's
Nothing's happening on
no,
the 18th.
no,
Okay.
Typically, the academy begins at the beginning of the year and mid-year. So
Okay,
you have a class starting in January, then the next class will be starting in June.
okay, thank you.
Chief, I have a question. My question is, what are we putting in place as far as the car thefts that are going on throughout the city heavily? I know it's going on all across everywhere, but it seems like it's really hitting us hard throughout Ferguson.
I think that we're putting in place when it comes to that. We're attempting to have more visibility in between calls. We're also utilizing, as I stated, our MRT team. Basically, these are officers that are currently off duty, not scheduled to work. They're coming in, and we've identified specific areas, large parking lots and things of that sort, where the vehicles are left, and having them pretty much be in that general area to deter or try to catch these individuals in progress. One thing that I do know is that your criminal element doesn't really want to work hard to succeed. So it's up to all of us, not just the point of the visibility of the police department. We have a lot of vehicles, be it if they're car collidings, you have vehicles that have weapons taken out of the vehicles and things of that sort. Invest in the safes. Because it's easy to reach under a seat and grab a weapon as opposed to try to crack the safe once you just open the door. Lock your door still. Reason being is because a lot of times from the intel that we've shared and that we've received, if you look at some video, all the person's doing is walking down, grabbing the door handle. If it doesn't open, they go to the next vehicle until they find the one that opens up. And that is the vehicle that they ransacked.
So is that needless to say, like, of course, you know me, where I work, I'm calling you every day, just about every day, because members are having their cars broken into every day, and they're not even in the building 30 minutes before the window is popped for whatever reason. So is it the fact that they are just looking for handguns? Because sometimes they don't just necessarily steal the cars off the lot. Now let me say this, they do steal the cars off of the lot. But for the majority of them, they're popping the windows, breaking the windows, I guess, rummaging through the vehicle as quickly as possible. They work as a team. all of that to get in there, but it's just so random that it's constantly all the time from Burlington to the Y to Walmart, Sam's. I mean, it's just hit after hit. And we calling every day.
Yeah, you know, but the thing of it is also, we get calls from Walmart too. And the one thing is when you see it, or the people see it, call us, primarily because Ferguson is a nice sized city, okay? But at the same time, it's a deterrent. If they know that the police are there, if they know you're gonna call, then they're gonna find someplace else to go to. That's number one. Secondly, as I stated, a criminal would prefer to go into an unlocked door than take the time to pop a window unless they see something in there. We've had dialogue with Planet Fitness because a lot of people go and work out and they will leave their guns in the car. So we said, well, you're gonna do that, then put it in the trunk of the car. You know, you've had people that have left computers right on the seat. So what do? They bust the window, take the computer. Because it doesn't, it's less than a minute, you know, to be done. So it's like fishing. If you don't have bait on a hook, you're not gonna catch any fish. So therefore, if we make it difficult, more difficult, you know, as I say, I've seen numerous times just the point of pulling a door handle and just going in the car, you ransack the vehicle. Nothing's taken, but you still have inconvenience as citizens. You know, so you know, just locking doors like that. But if a person's in the neighborhood and you're not comfortable, call us. You know, don't take for granted that they're just walking down the street. Now, don't get me wrong, there are people that are doing that, but you know, if a person goes into your neighbor's driveway and that person doesn't reside, you don't reside there, or a car just happens to that you're not familiar with, and they pull up and they park on the side of the road, they're just sitting there idle, you know. Call us, because 9 times out of 10, if it's on a dead end street, we're probably up to no good.
This is a lot of businesses. They hitting us up on these business lots. It's a lot of it from like I said, from Planet Fitness to Burlington in that whole vicinity, they are seriously hitting. Yeah.
Councilwoman Burrow.
Thank you. Evening to you. Did I understand you to say that the status hearing generated some interest in inquiries?
Pardon me?
Did I understand you to say that the status hearing may have generated some interest in inquiries?
No, I was saying that because of information that was shared at the status hearing, so it's a lot of positions that have been posted and that we're getting inquiries and resumes and cover letters sent in for these positions, internal, external, and really people, and some people that are out of the actual region.
Thank you. The other thing I wanted to ask you about, the monitor made some comments during her session towards the end. Were you privy to what she was saying? And she revealed some discontent with what was happening from your side of the fence as far as how the performance of getting things done in a timely fashion. She even laid out periods of time that she thought, for example, this could have been done in a week, but we're still hanging on to it. I do have to say that Attorney Carey did great damage control on the feedback for what he considered to be the reason why. What say you?
Well, I think during the time frame that she's talking about, probably the department, the city is going through transition. Okay, you have a new person, that the prior one is going. A lot of different things that have been going on as far as getting information, getting caught up and brought up to speed in reference to what's going on. In reference with, even with the PTO training per se, in reference to getting the needed information and clarity for the citizens that are involved to have a better understanding of what we're trying to accomplish with that. So to me, it's just a transitional thing. The one thing that even the judge did say, although progress was not as fast as the previous period, but there was still progress.
I would like to see, when we have situations like that, that you would give some specifics as to, I mean, probability, everybody blames everything on COVID, you know that. But she seemed to have a feeling that it was not complacent. And I get what you're saying, and like I said, Attorney Kerry came back with the damage control. But I think if she had that information, because if she had had that information, she wouldn't have been able to make those statements if she had the information that you just gave me. So if you could coordinate with her in some kind of way before the next status hearing, then we won't have to have damage control. I do want to say though, from the CRB standpoint, we have some situations where you have been contacted in regards to some information that we'd asked you for. And again, our secretary, Ms. Kidd, she's real good at this. She noted the time that we sent you the request. Then when you responded, which was quick, but then another 30 days go forward and we're in the same position as when we first asked for it. And it is, I'll get it to you, or we're working on it. And I'd like to have, if possible, some definite times. And we've been talking about this for the last 3 years. If we could have some definite times, when, how long? And I know everybody's busy and we got some vacancies and all of that, but it was said by somebody, it's a very important, CRB is very important to the consent decree. Everybody here know I don't want it at all, but it doesn't help us to get through it if we can't say, have some deadlines. And if you would look at the minutes from the CRB, if you would read through that, and it will tell you what we're lacking from your side of the fence. Did I get you to look into that?
Yes.
And if you would get back with Ms. Kidd, Secretary, or just send us a note to the whole CRB to let us know where you are with that, because there were a few loopholes and some open places. And I want to thank Mr. Curry for giving his feedback at the status hearing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Can you remind us all, what does MRT stand for? Mobile Response Team. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the chief regarding his status report? Hear none.
Thank you.
All right, so for the next item, I see in the audience that we have quite a few residents of Versailles Apartments here in the audience tonight, and I wanted to make sure that I kind of took time to update all of you as well as City Council about where we are with enforcement action against Hughes Capital, the property ownership of Versailles Apartments. So the mayor, myself, and Inspector Diaz met with the ownership on yesterday, and they communicated to us that tomorrow on site, they're going to have a person working on fixing the hot water, and they're hoping to have the water fixed by the end of this week. In the event that that doesn't happen, one of the things that I'm going to look to council to discuss is maybe looking at additional legal action that we might be able to take against the property ownership. As kind of many of you were made privy to when we had the administrative license hearing last week, we kind of talked about kind of the tricky situation we're in right now, where we know that the living conditions are not great. We heard from all of you about the lack of water, the lack of warm water, the lack of heating in some of the units, some of the cleanliness and sanitation issues. But we also don't want to create as a city displacement without there being some sort of action plan for that transition. So we are also in the process, city staff and some of our elected officials, in trying to make contact with some of the organizations that help with transitionary housing in the event that we do not see movement from the property ownership at Versailles Hughes Capital. It is something that we're working on, and is I would describe as one of the #1 priorities for our code in our city right now, just to stay on top of continuing to put on that pressure on the property owner to restore the living conditions of Versailles to a safe and habitable place. I want to stop there and see if there's any questions from City Council.
Question.
Councilwoman Pearl.
Thank you. Is there going to be anytime real soon a concise document or that would dictate what was done at the hearing, the administrative hearing? Is that going to be something that's going to be coming forward so those who could not come tonight would understand? Because
Oh, yeah,
my
the
understanding
summary.
of a hearing would be that we put the hearing together as administrative and then send something to us as the council so that we will know. I mean,
That's
is that the
correct. So,
process?
yeah, so I'm actually meeting with legal this week to kind of produce that document because there's also some formal documents that have been requested from Hughes Capital as well.
Okay, so the process is you have your administrative meeting, you send something to the council, and then it goes out to the public. Is that correct?
I said I'm going to send that out after I have an opportunity to speak with legal this week.
I'm sorry, do it one more time.
I'm going to be speaking with legal this week, and then I will be sending out a document.
Okay.
Any other questions for the manager for Versailles Apartments?
All right, moving on to the next item I have to give council an update on. During the end of the last fiscal year, early summer, there was an email that I had sent out to city council asking for requested stop sign locations throughout our community, throughout the neighborhoods. We went ahead and put a number of those up. I don't have the number and the specific list of that right now, but something that was brought to my attention is that we actually, in order for those stop signs to be legally enforceable, our charter or our ordinances call out for there actually to be an updated ordinance or resolution. So I will be talking with legal about that and then bringing that before you to deliberate on and get passed. So so those signs are actually legal. So, I mean, the tricky part is right now with those stop signs where they're implemented right now, if someone does not heed them and for whatever reason we write a ticket for them, that's technically not illegal. That was not a legal enforcement action. So that's something that I'll be giving to council as soon as I can.
Just to clarify, so in order for a stop sign to be approved though, before the I'm sorry, Ferguson Traffic Commission has to make a recommendation for a stop sign first. And then we go into making sure that we're abiding by the ordinance, correct?
So this process of getting the stop signs up was happened before we reconvened the traffic commission. So I would still bring those to city council.
Okay. Okay, but new stop sign requests.
So I guess I would say that I would kind of ask a question back. So typically when boards and commissions are formed, councils kind of decide what the kind of the purview of those boards are. So, I mean, my understanding of our charter is that any councilor at a council meeting could introduce legislation or make recommendations and even pass a stop sign. But the fact that a traffic commission exists means that generally that a council would refer that to the traffic commission for deliberation and then accept that recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
So to that end, does that mean that the traffic commission is making legislation, making policy? If the buck stops there?
Oh, I didn't, just to be clear, I didn't say that the traffic commission makes policy. What I
That's what I'm
said,
asking.
yeah, what I said is that they make recommendations to council. So what I'm saying, so to Councilor Noah's point, she had asked if moving forward, all traffic signs will come from the traffic commission. And I said, based upon how I understand our charter to work, council has that ability whenever you want to introduce that. But by virtue of you having a commission, generally you're kind of, as a council liaison, you sit with your traffic commission and say, hey, so we have us as a council have discussed that we want you to look at where we're having traffic signs in our community. Please deliberate. And then council would wait for that recommendation and then deliberate on that recommendation and then pass that in if they felt that that was proper.
Okay. Does that mean you? Yeah, I'm fine. Okay.
And that ends my manager report unless there's questions from council.
Any other questions? If not, the manager's report is complete. We move to our special presentation. At this time, we have already agreed to move the annual financial report and audit report to the top of the list. So, city manager.
Good evening, Mayor, City Councils, members of our community. Tonight we have a presentation about the finances of the city from our finance director, Evan Trump.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of City Council.
Good evening.
Normally, this time of year, we would be presenting the audit and the audit findings at this time. However, due to circumstances where when I started back in June, that it was tasked to me to find a new outside audit firm, which did take time doing due diligence and interviewing and receiving bids, written bids, and listening to presentations. We were able to finally conclude and meet. And as you remember, we had you sign, complete a resolution to have Eric sign off and enter contract with Clifton Larson Allen, CLA, I believe in late August. Normally our audit would be completed this time of year. And however, and our Andrew Zabel, our main contact with CLA, planned to attend tonight via Zoom. Unfortunately, he had another meeting already set up that he double booked, but he sends his apologies, and I have talking points that he has sent for me to read off to you and go over tonight as they're continuing to work on the audit. There was some delay in coordination with a previous audit firm, Bots Deal. However, when they did start to connect, they've been actually very helpful. There just was some delay in getting communication from them and documents that was done in previous audits. Audit work did begin in October and assisting with closing the books for fiscal year 22 and compiling information to make all the year-end adjustments for the city of Ferguson. Areas of focus for CLA have been and continue to be accounts receivables, prepaid insurance account, accrual adjustments, and capital assets. The city also, my staff, we are continuing to finalize reconciliations for both operating and parks cash accounts as we wrap up our end of year. So the timing for CLA is that all journal entries recorded for fund and government-wide financial statements by January 15th, complete audit procedures by the end of January, and finalize principal and quality review by the February 15th, and then present final results to City Council probably during the second meeting in February. So we're about 2 months behind. My apologies to City Council for being delayed. I can be rest assured that moving forward in subsequent years, that we will be timely and end of the year by the calendar year moving forward, as we will have continue to work with CLA and they'll be ready to prepare to work with us and begin the audit probably in August or early September. So, currently, the city financial status as of today, revenues are approximately $8.25 million and expenditures are approximately $7.87 million. So we are operating in the black as of right now. First quarter, the city did show a positive cash flow of $1.38 million. And also in quarter one, our actuals to budget figures are in a good place, including salaries, with myself keeping a very tight rein on watching overtime. Most of that is due to some overtime that was committed during flood cleanup at the end of July. The average of actual figures to be anywhere from 5 to 20% across all departments of budget figures during quarter one as well. So we're still right now, as of right now, we're operating as expected throughout the fiscal year. So I'll have more figures for you for quarter two during January. That's all I have for right now to report. If you have any questions, be glad to field them.
I don't have. Councilwoman. You have a question?
I'm sorry, yes. Yeah, can you repeat the expenditures amount?
Yes, 7.87 million.
Sorry, Mayor.
Any other questions for the finance director? Councilwoman?
Thank you, Mayor. So basically, this is a learning curve that is causing this delay that we won't be subject to.
That's exactly
Okay.
right. Yeah, we went through as I was trying to shop for new outside audit firms. There was quite a few that actually turned us down. And that was a common thing in the industry because after COVID, there was a lot of things, a lot of firms were not taking on a lot of new clients at the time. So that was very common to run across. And then in talking with ones that wanted to propose and work with us, it took several weeks this summer to even get a proposal to us and then to set up a time to even talk with them via Zoom.
But we are getting the information from Bots Deal, so that's all good.
That is
Okay.
being completed and
Perfect.
done. Yes, in fact, our outside audit firm has access, secure access, obviously, to our system and has been able to pull reports and necessary information from our database that, and also have been uploading and sending numerous different financial documents and files to them as well.
Okay, thank you.
Question.
Yes,
She mentioned learning curve. Was it actually a learning curve or was it information gathering?
just information
Right,
gathering.
because that,
So-
if you got to learn.
But it's a learning curve on my end as
Okay.
this
All right,
my first year.
okay, so your first year in the role of doing a annual report?
No, is the finance director in this for the city of Ferguson.
That's the learning curve that you're sticking with?
Yes.
Okay, because otherwise it's a gathering of information.
Well, it's both, but yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Welcome.
Appreciate you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is the Human Rights Advocate of the Year Award.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. Good evening, City Council.
Good evening.
Here, the Human Rights Commission and the City of Ferguson present the Advocate of the Year Award to the individual that promotes human rights in the City of Ferguson. This year, we're honored to present the Human Rights Advocate of the Year Award to Ida Person. I now read her nomination. Ida Person is an inspiration to the entirety of St. Louis with a person and a dedication to her community. She helps so many people from understanding what to do for their missing loved ones to knowing how they can make a difference politically in their community in Ferguson. She's also the mother of Christian Ferguson, who's been missing since his murder in 2003 by his father, DeJuan Ferguson, who hid his body where it remains today. His remains still unfound. She worked tirelessly for over 19 years to bring his murder to justice and just succeeded in July of this year. If anyone deserves this nomination, recognition, it's the woman who started the nonprofit organization for missing persons after her own son went missing to help others like her. The entire community recognizes her every day. Let's make it official. This was written by Lynn Ferguson. I now present the Advocate of the Year Award to Miss Ida Person.
Congratulations. At this time, we have recognition for Adrian Shropshire. He attended the class at the University of Missouri, St. Louis. He received a chancellor's certificate in fundamentals of planning and zoning. He has successfully completed a minimum of 18 hours of planning and zoning training offered by the Public Policy Administration Program at the University of Missouri, St. Louis, and the East-West Gateway Council of Government. Here's his certificate. Adrian Shropshire. Board members to continue education. And we know you've been doing planning and zoning because you've been sharing it in the planning and zoning, so congratulations. Thus in the special presentation, we move to our public hearing. Citizens' comments will be accepted during the public hearing portion of the meeting. You should note in the chat box your interest in speaking. Comments would also be accepted via email prior to the meeting. The topic of your email should be listed in the subject line.
Emails should have been received by 5 o'clock Monday, December the 12th. Our public hearing is with special use. Octavia, would you like to read that?
Sure. Shall a special use permit be issued to operate a commercial daycare facility located at 10716 New Halls Ferry Road? The parcel is currently zoned C1 General Commercial.
City manager, could you provide information regarding the hearing?
Yes, our city our city planner, Elliot Leibson, is here to talk more about this item.
Thank you, City Manager, Madam Mayor, members of council. This is, as mentioned, a hearing to determine whether or not a daycare should get a special use permit to operate at 10716 New Halls Ferry Road. Just very briefly, the applicant approached us this fall, and we went through. The applicant and I went through their application and looked at most notably safety and parking, and the results are in your staff report. They want to have up to 60 kids there on a daily basis, and up to 12 staff. And as in doing so, they would have to have 18 parking spaces, and the playground area that they have to have and that we require and the state requires, in order to get that in there and get it in there safely, they would have 17 spaces. And we required them to put in a drive-through lane, drop-off lane on the south side of the building. And they agreed to all these things before the Plan Commission, and the Plan Commission has noted one required that as part of conditions of approval. And based on that, we feel that this is a reasonable request, and the Plan Commission voted unanimously in the November 2nd meeting to recommend approval of this project.
Any questions from the council? Councilman Palmer.
Does the proposed site plan have any kind of fencing considerations made with being adjacent to New Halls Ferry?
As far as the playground area, yes. If you look on the I think it's the last page, this graphic, that green box is entirely fenced around, and which is required by the state and by us. And also there's those little blue arrows. Those are those will be concrete bollards spaced at regular intervals. We didn't set the exact number of feet, but point being, kids will not be, they'll be in that fenced area, which will be directly accessible from the building, so they don't have to cross any pavement to get there in and out. And it will be protected by a fence and concrete bollards. So if, God forbid, someone comes up on this driveway and hits it, they'll be stopped before they get into the playground.
My second question is where would be the closest location or other business that sells alcohol or tobacco products to this location?
Well, if the gas station that's being built serves alcohol, then it would be 200 yards, I think. But the way our code reads, since the gas station was already approved, they can continue to do so as long as they never stop for any extended length of time.
So would this possibly limit the new gas station being constructed in the future if they apply for liquor license?
No, as long as they are, as long as they continue to do so, because they were in first, they're allowed to. The codes for the liquor code for the 300-foot requirement specifically calls out that if they're there before, then they are allowed to continue to do so.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the council?
Hear none. Clerk Pittman, do we have any comments that were submitted or either in the chat box concerning the hearing?
I only have one, and it's Adrian Shropshire.
I was on at the meeting when the applicants came in. And I think that far as an economic growth, I think it's great for that area. The nearest daycare for them is on the other side of it's up by oh wow, it's a good ways on the other side of Walmart area that the next daycare might be for that, for this particular one. The building itself is ideal. It's been sitting, and in sincerity of economic development, I'm asking the council to move forward with this and help this area grow, because with our seniors coming, we hope to get a grocery store in there in that plaza. So I think this is to be a good hub to start the growth in that area. It's been pretty slow outside of Home Depot. That little area has been a little slow area to develop. So I think anything right now that could bring some economic growth and give it a good look. They're going to do some good work in there. They're going to go by the code. It's under condition that they do fence in the playground, make sure they get the fire lane, make sure they have their drop-offs. Interior, make sure they get it sectioned off right. And we don't know, I don't know about the sprinkler system, but they would go by with whatever the fire code and whatever the inspectors say. So I think this would be a good business. And that's what I have to say on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for the public comment?
No.
Thank you. The public hearing is now closed. We move to our consent agenda. The city council meeting minutes, the regular meeting minutes for 11/8/22 and the special meeting minutes for 11/17/22. Are there any corrections for the minutes? Here none, I request a motion and a second to approve the minutes.
So move, Tony Burrow.
Second, Laquita Noah.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, meeting minutes approved. The boards and commission meeting minutes, the Civilian Review Board minutes from 10/03/22 and 11/21/22. I'm requesting a motion and a second to receive and file the minutes.
So move, Tony Burrow.
Second, Heather Robinette.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. The boards, commission meeting minutes are filed. We don't have any appointments for the night. We don't have any requests, proclamations. We move to the resolutions. Resolution number 2022-45. Without objections, we're introduced by council members present. Hear none. Attorney Perry, could you please read the resolution?
Yes, ma'am. Number 2022-45. Fireworks display at the Juneteenth celebration, awarding the contract to said contractor, and authorizing the city manager to execute the contract on behalf of the city.
City manager, do you have an explanation?
Yes, so we actually have our Parks Director, Dave Musgrave, here to kind of go over the contract.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, City Council. There was a memo in your packet tonight. We sent this out to bid. It's going on almost 2 months ago now. It was out to bid. We did have 2 vendors bid on it. One was J&M Displays, who we've used pretty routinely for our 4th of July. There was another vendor as well. J&M was the low bid on this. Basically, it's a show with 2,145 shots. It's gonna be about a 15-minute display. They will be lower level shots because of the location being over at Forestwood Park. But they came in at $9,000. We had budgeted $10,000. So that basically sums it up. If there's questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
Hear none. I'm requesting a motion and a second for approval.
Naquita Noah, second.
Clerk Pittman, could you please call the roll?
Councilman Noah.
Aye.
Councilman Palmer.
Aye.
Councilman Burrow.
Aye.
Councilman Robinette.
Aye.
Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Councilwoman Nelson.
Aye.
Resolution number 2022-45 passes. We move to resolution number 2022-50. Without objection, we're introduced by council members present. Hear none. Attorney Carey, could you please read the resolution?
A resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a contract between the city of Ferguson and AM Richards Glass Co. Inc. To repair the windows at 105 Carson. For the city of Ferguson.
City manager.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, members of our community. We have Elliot Leibson here to go over this item. This is the whistle stop. In addition to this, I just wanted to kind of give council an update. We did go out to RFP to find an interested tenant for whistle stop. One of the things we wanted to make sure certain of prior to housing that tenant there was fixing up the building so that they could operate. Elliot?
That's basic. Most of my presentation, we actually can't open the building until the windows are fixed. Shortly after the last tenant in 2017 closed, the windows got busted out. 4 of the windows got busted out. Building was boarded up since then. So there's been no subsequent damage, but we can't get the building open until those are done. We went out for bid. You have the bid docs. AM Richards Glass came in at the lowest and best bid. And so we're recommending that they get the bid.
I have a
Thank you.
question.
Councilwoman Burrow, you have a question?
The question is, didn't we have somebody to come before us that wanted to take over this business?
Yeah, and we've been trying to get this window thing settled until that.
Are they still in the hopper waiting?
They are, and there's several other interested parties should that not come through.
Are they the only one?
I'm sorry?
Is that the only one that we have in the hop?
That's the only one who has submitted a bid. Because the others came in after and said, yeah, I'm interested. But if this one who submitted a bid says, well, you took too long, I'm gonna pass up, we will rebid the project.
So you put another RFP in if this one, okay,
Yeah,
that's good. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Hear none. I'm requesting a motion and a second for approval.
So move, Tony Burrow.
Second, Naquita Noah.
Clerk Pittman, could you please call the roll?
Councilman Palmer.
Aye.
Councilwoman Burrow.
Aye.
Councilman Robinette.
Aye.
Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Councilwoman Nelson.
Aye.
Councilwoman Noah.
Aye.
Resolution number 2022-50 passes. Resolution number 2022-51. Without objection, we're introduced by council members present. Hear none. Attorney Carey, could you please read the resolution?
Contract between the city of Ferguson and Lakeside Roofing Company to repair the caboose roofs at 33 North Fourth of the city of Ferguson.
City manager, do you have an explanation?
I'll actually just defer to Elliot so I don't take away his presentation.
I'll move, Elliot.
So this was brought to our attention by the Ferguson Historical Society, and as it happens, it is part of the lease to have those cabooses there. We are obligated to maintain them. The roofs are in need of repair, significant repair. When they brought it to us, they brought us the bid from Ferguson Roofing, which is the low bid. Obviously, we need at least 3 bids. So I went out, I got the other 2 bids. And as you have in your documentation, I looked at, because the Ferguson bid was so much lower than the others. I was a little concerned. So I did some review, and looking at the reviews in Google, the Ferguson reviews were considerably more negative reviews on a variety of subjects. And that was a red flag for me. And so I proposed that the next lowest bidder be recommended for approval.
Councilwoman Borough.
When you went back and did your research and all of that, so if you're recommending that, is that a dead stop, hard stop? Whatever that bid is, they can't come back later on and say, you know, we misquoted, blah, blah, blah. What I'm asking you for is if we say okay to this in the contract, hard stop. Anything that comes outside of that, they have to take it on themselves. Is that a possibility?
I will have to check. I did not.
Okay. Well, then if that's the case, is it possible that we can hold off on this until you check that? Because that would be an important thing.
And I could,
I mean, if you can't answer it, then you gotta check. You gotta check.
So I'll jump in, and what I'll say is that one of the things that we actually have the ability to set the terms of the contract, so we can actually, because all this is authorizing me to sign a contract with them.
Exactly.
So if your concern specifically is that you don't have additional change orders, or that the additional cost increases are something that need to come back before council, that's something that if it's council's pleasure, we can work into the contract.
So we can put that in?
Yes.
Okay, then if that's the case, I'm okay with that.
Okay. Any other questions? Hear none, I'm requesting a motion and a second for approval.
So moved, Tony Burrow.
Second, Phaedra Nelson.
Clerk Pittman, could you please call a roll?
Councilwoman Burrow,
Aye.
Councilwoman Robinette,
Aye.
Mayor Jones,
Aye.
Councilwoman Nelson,
Aye.
Councilwoman Noah,
Hi.
Councilman Palmer.
No.
Resolution number 2022-51 passes. We move, thank you, Elliot. Appreciate all the hard work. Thank you. Bills requiring first reading. These bills do not require any actions. At this time, we have bill number 7234. Without objections, we're introduced by council members present. Attorney Carey, could you read the bill by title only?
Ferguson, Missouri, granting a special use permit to Aaron Strong for the purpose of operating a commercial daycare at 10716 New Hall Ferry Road, subject to the conditions, restrictions, and requirements set forth herein.
City manager, do you have an explanation?
No further comment.
That at this time, no action will be taken for the first reading. Bill number 7235, without objections, will introduced by council members present. Hear none, Attorney Carey, could you please read the bill by title only?
All relating to architectural review within the city of Ferguson.
City manager?
Yes, so we had a boards and commissions work session with city council, and one of the things that council had floated as an idea to just increase the efficiency of our boards was combining the architectural review board with the planning commission. So this is that ordinance. We do have our city planner here if you have any other questions related to this item.
Does anyone have any questions for Elliot, the city planner?
Is this when we were doing boards and commissions, is this the same thing that we combined? Anybody got any answers? I don't think you know it, Elliot. Is this when we were talking about boards and commissions, when we were going over the manual? Okay.
Yes, yeah,
This is it.
this is the item as part of that those
Okay,
discussions.
I got it. Thanks.
At this time, no action is being taken for the first reading. Without a bill number 7236, without objection, we're introduced by council members present. Hear none, Attorney Carey, could you please read the bill by title only? City manager?
Yes, we have our Parks Director, Dave Musgrave, here to speak more on this item.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council again. As most of you are aware, we've been working with Great River Greenways going on almost 12 years now on this project. This is the ordinance basically to hand over operations and maintenance of the trail once the construction is completed back to the city of Ferguson. I have Michael Stenledge here from Great River Greenways. If there's questions, we're more than happy to answer them. But I believe this has been on everyone's radar for a long time now. So.
Thank you.
Well, I do have a question for Michael, if
Councilwoman, let me acknowledge you, please. Would you come? Any questions?
Yeah, I do have a question. I know that some properties have to be acquired, or not the entire property, but some of the property line. How is that process going? Have the property owners been communicating with you okay? So that you all can stay on task, on time for your project?
Sure. So, context is that this project has been awarded $2 million. It does mean it comes with a series of what are called LPA requirements that we have to follow in order to meet Uniform Act requirements, all governed by the Federal Highway Administration. So in order for us to even approach MoDOT, who is the administrator for those federal funds, and say, do we have approval and final blessing to go out to advertise in next spring? We have to complete our land acquisition and right-of-way efforts. There are 15 easements as a part of this project, no full parcel buyout. So just little strips of permanent and temporary easements that are needed for this. 2 remain to be completed. One is with Norfolk Southern Railroad, one is with a private property owner. The railroad is kind of a monster of its own, as we all know, working with railroad, but we are at least pleased to say we're at 90% submission with them, and we're at the point now where they're just fine detailing things. The overall concept has been given the blessing, and so then we go into the real estate division. One thing to note too is that in this agreement that the bill addresses, it says, you know, that GRG, us, we will be paying for all of the construction costs for that. And so if the city were to incur any flagging costs, because you all are the asset manager, you own all the land, we pay for that. That's what that ordinance or that agreement provides for. So separate from that, though, there is just one more private property owner that we are working with. The process works that we do all of our valuations based on an appraisal provided by a state licensed appraiser. We provide that amount. The owners would like to negotiate, we can do so, but we can't arbitrarily come up with a figure. So we do have to receive something from the owner in order for us to move forward. So really trying to work out everything with that last owner so that we can keep schedule and go out to bid in the spring of next year.
Thank you. At this time, no action is taken. Thank you. Bill number 7237. Without objections, we're introduced by council members present. Hear none. Attorney Carey, could you please read the bill by title only? City manager.
This is the ordinance that authorizes the redistricting. I'll open it to council. I believe this is mostly a council item.
Okay. At this time, no action is taken. We move to bills requiring second reading. We don't have any. Number 10, any unfinished business? Number 11, any new business? Number 12, our miscellaneous. Let's start with Councilwoman Noor.
Thank you, Mayor, and I apologize, everyone, for speaking out of turn. I apologize. I would just like to say thank you to all of the Ferguson staff for the holiday events. And yes, the holiday staff party was truly a reflection of the talent working for the city. And again, I just want to say thank you all for what you do. And let's please continue to adhere to the Republic Services holiday recycling and normal trash bin etiquette, please. Lastly, I'm looking forward to working with everyone on the council. You know, we have such a great opportunity for 2023 to support the policy and staff and recommendations of the DOJ, as well as working with everyone to support and assist our overall community goals. I'm looking forward to the streets maintenance meeting and the second boards and commissions workshop, hopefully in early 2023. And lastly, happy holidays. Everyone be safe and thanks.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Palmer.
I also just want to go ahead and wish everybody happy holidays with that coming up, and just be safe. You know, the weather does get inclement. And also the Winter Blues is probably going to be a great showing with the Parks and Rec. So be sure to show up to that. It seems to get better every year with a lot of the events they've been putting on. Also, I was going to mention it in the new business, but I didn't raise my hand quick enough. But I'm going to ask if the city manager could possibly, maybe at the next meeting, just provide a very brief ARPA update. I know that was on your radar anyway, but there's been a lot of questions about that. And we've also, as a council, had questions about that being halfway through the funding season too. So it'd be good just to have something brief that you can go over. From my understanding, not a lot of it has been spent yet, just to put minds at ease. A lot of it was earmarked for fund replenishment due to COVID costs, which was kind of what it was initially for. Is that correct, Mr. Osterberg? That is correct. Revenue recovery, is that correct? Yes. But it'd just be good to have a quick little 5 minutes or less on where it's intended to be spent to date, where it has been spent. And that's all I have. Thank you.
What projects it went to?
Councilwoman Burrow, you have the floor.
Thank you. I wanted to comment on the same thing that Mike commented on. I think that the citizens would love to know where we stand with the ARPA money, where it went, how it went, what do we have left, and some detail. I know from talking with somebody on FNIP, the grant money that we're giving out, if we could have how much, who got it, what are they using it for, that could probably put a lot of people at ease, because it is getting done. The citizens are able, the homeowners are able to get some things done. It's been well used. I think that we owe an explanation to some folks as to that put in for a request and why they didn't get it. So, and that might be something that we would have to discuss. So I would appreciate seeing that. The other thing is, as far as somebody mentioned about when we had the roadblocks up on Chambers, and it sounded like a suggestion that they were encouraging lawlessness, because that was illegal what we did. And I don't care what kind of impact came out of it. Two wrongs don't make a right. You keep making left turns, you're going to get lefts. And so I would, and the safety, we had a school over there and things that we were doing. And I had submitted a whole document to you, some things that we should have done, that none of those things did we do, but instead we fall out of grace at the city level with Sam Page's office when we do things like that. And to say, oh, we did push the envelope and now we're going to get some street. I don't think that was it at all. I think if we had gone and done what we normally do, or what anybody would do, knock on the door. These are the same people that we work with. These are citizens too. We got people out there doing what we asked them to do. We don't have to get lawless. That I think that was, not to whip anybody's back. We got the scars, T-shirt to prove it, but I don't suggest that we do that again. And especially come to this forum and suggest that lawlessness is what we should be about. Not so. I also would like to thank Adrian for bringing the citizens. You bless my soul. I love that. And especially when you bring the children, you train them up in the way they should go. So they don't bother me. And I really appreciate that, Adrian. But I'd like to see them come all the time. So if you would invite them. Thank you. Thank you. Give credit where credit is due. Thank you. I appreciate that. I really, really appreciate seeing them And I hope that we were civil enough that they will come back. And so thank you so much for doing that. The last thing I'm going to talk about the CRB. I don't know who's not paying attention, but every time that we are before you in public with Proud or anywhere else, and CRB is there, we talk about how many people we need to sit in the seats all the time. And we talk about when terms are going to be over. So this is not new news. I remember when I asked Nick Kassoff, would he join the CRB or would he join the Traffic Commission? And Nick said he'd think about it. He joined the Traffic Commission. That's how we get it done. We offer it out. Robbins, I offered him the same thing. We got the CRB, we got the Traffic Commission, but he wanted something else. And he's thinking about it, still thinking about it. We have at least 5 or 6 people who are thinking about it. And Octavia can attest to that. I don't know if Kassoff has got a magic wand over in Ward 1. I don't know, but I know that you guys have asked people to come on the CRB. So I don't want anybody here to think that we've not been doing due diligence. We have asked, and you know that for a fact too, Ms. Mitchell, we've asked people to come on the CRB. So citizens let it be known. We're not sitting up here waiting on them to come. We are always soliciting for somebody to get on the CRB. I want the consent decree to be gone. And the way for that to happen is that we fill the seats and get the work done. I also want to comment on, last thing, Mayor, for Betty Johnson, is that her name? The new, awesome at a minimum. Fantastic at a minimum. And I think she's gonna get us right where we need to go. I'm hoping and seriously hoping and praying that she'd be the one to take us out of this consent decree. I think she's done a great job. Mayor, that's all I have. Thank you so much for your patience.
Thank you. Thank you. Councilwoman Robinette.
I will be quick, but I'd like to congratulate again Theta Person for the Human Rights Advocate of the Year, and also Adrian Shropshire for the Chancellor's Certificate in Planning and Zoning. So congratulations to both of you. And then I just like to wish everybody a happy holiday season, and I hope Santa brings you what you want, or you buy yourself what you want.
Very much so. Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Nelson.
Just to piggyback off Robinette, just to congratulate Adrian and Theta for their awards tonight. And also to, as always, commending and encouraging folks to please look into getting on the boards and commissions, one of the boards and commissions, whatever one you choose. It really is important for you all to make sure that your voices are being heard and that you're being involved within your city and knowing what's going on. And then for everybody to just have a happy and safe holiday. That's it.
Can I say one thing before we go to the?
Yes, Councilwoman.
You sent out a note, Eric, on a meeting about property and Mike and I attended that meeting. It was fantastic. We missed you, but Mike did a good job asking questions. What came out of it, the attorney that was working for that case for the property, the derelict and the slum landlords, I had a separate conversation with her and a meeting on the phone. And I think this is something that we can get into. I talked with Sam Page about it, and Mike and I are going to have a meeting with him. I want to let you know that. We'll let you know when that meeting is set up. It's going to be a Monday for sure, because that's the best time that Mike has. But he is all in for that. And he has money, is what he said to me. They have some funding for that. So I would love for us to get started on that as soon as possible. And I think if we could get a meeting before the end of the year, this year, not our fiscal year, but before the end of December, because he's going in strong. The city is funding that program. And with all the money that they're sitting on out there in county, I think we could fund it too. Thank you and thanks for sending that out. Otherwise, I would have never noticed it.
City Clerk. City Attorney.
Nothing. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. City Manager.
Yeah, to the community, happy holidays. Again, please stay safe out there, especially with the dicey weather that we're having out tonight. Just kind of following up with what I heard from council, I'll make sure at the next city council meeting that we have an update about ARPA. I'll go over kind of the process so far, where we are with expenditure for projects, what's been dedicated that has not been expended yet, and kind of the timelines for those. And then any updates pertaining to restrictions on ARPA funding, because as I kind of mentioned at the very beginning on the outset of this process, as we've kind of gone on, there's been less and less restrictions on the use of the funding. So I'll provide an update about that as well. I apologize for not being able to make that land banking legislative discussion meeting. I had a meeting with the personnel board, strategizing with them about trying to change some of our internal policies and looking at the benefits that we're offering here at the city to make us a competitive regional employer. We have, as kind of I've mentioned before, we're in a situation where we have a lot of staff that are working more than their own job. So that's a lot of work. So we have to figure out some ways to compensate and look at total compensation, not just salary, full look at the benefits, looking at time off, the work-life balance, those items. So it was really encouraging to be able to meet with the personnel board and kind of see them kind of understand that mission of the city and kind of, give really critical feedback on some of those initiatives. So again, I apologize for not making that meeting. I did get a draft of the bill for the land banking, and that's the land banking initiatives, and that's something that I'm actively reviewing right now. What I'll say is that while the idea is really good in kind of theory, one of the things that we're likely going to want to watch out for is that it preempts some of our ability to direct how we're using the land. As it pertains to like our existing programs with side lots in our property restoration program. If we were going to expand that to a third program, which would be like infill or new construction, one of the things that we would be subject to is that there would be a board that would be above council that could determine whether or not our application for the land was something that met their own development goals. So that's just something that we want to probably keep a close eye on as we're kind of going into the new year about that legislation, just to ensure that we have really good control over kind of the development and the vision that council here wants for our city. And then as a last note, I want to thank city staff for another excellent year here at the city of Ferguson. We super appreciate everything that you do. And we're hoping that we can continue on kind of full speed ahead. Kind of a last note to the community. One of the things that is on my task list for next year is getting a strategic plan up and operational. That's not really duplicative. It's not going to, overtake the 2040 plan or any of the plans that we've already deliberated on as a city. It's just simply a way that we can take all of the existing plans and goals that we have and have kind of expressed as a community over time, even predating me, and kind of operationalize it, look at where we're prioritizing, and then being able to set up some sort of community dashboard where citizens can just log on and see where our exact process is towards meeting some of those goals. So kind of the next steps I have for that is I have a meeting with city staff happening early in the year, and then staff and council will actually convene to discuss city council's already drafted strategic goals. So please look forward to that. And that ends my comments.
Thank you. Thank you. I attended the Realtors and Vacant Homes meeting also, and the bill is being introduced by State Representative Wyndham. And several mayors, we were there, and we noticed there are some things in that bill that needs to be looked at very closely. And I had an opportunity to talk to Sam Page. He had to leave early, but he is basically all for the bill with the necessary corrections. Also, prosecuting attorney Wesley Bell opened up his satellite office today. The mayors and the chief of police have been talking to prosecuting attorney Wesley Bell about our officers have to leave North County, go to Clayton, spend 30 minutes, then try to find some place to park, then have to file all this. So as of today, they don't have to travel and lose that much time from their job. They could go right over 270 to the Florissant Municipal Court, and he has a satellite office there. And the grand opening was this morning. In addition to that, Councilwoman Nelson had mentioned about the break-ins. The Missouri Municipal League we have gotten together and some of the mayors, and we have an appointment with prosecuting attorney Wesley Bell about the uptick in youths who are breaking in these cars. And one thing people don't know is that if they are a minor, they cannot be prosecuted or anything. The police have to call the parent, have the parent come to the police station and pick their child up. And if the parent refuses to come and pick their child up, then the police has to take that child home. So we're working with prosecuting attorney in a juvenile court to see what can be done so these kids can be accountable. Maybe sometime working in a city somewhere, but we are working on it because it's not only in Ferguson, it's very heavily in North County. In addition to that, it has been quite some time since the city of Ferguson has held a Missouri Municipal League meeting. We were scheduled to have one in 2020, but COVID hit and we couldn't have a meeting. So they are asking us to have the Missouri Municipal League meeting in March of 2023, where we will serve them some refreshments and all the municipalities will come together and have a meeting. So it's up to the council if that's what we want to do. It's our turn. So other than that, that's all I have. I'm requesting a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting.
moved,
Everybody
Nikita
have a
Noah.
very Merry Christmas. Is there a motion?
Don't move, Nikita Noah.
Second.
Is there a second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Merry Christmas. Eyes have it. Thank you. Just a half an hour over. That wasn't bad. No, that wasn't